Well, welcome back to the shed. No, Christmas hasn't arrived early. I've just been sorting out a little bit of a head alignment problem with this thing. This little Martic. Underneath there is a screw that you adjust because eventually, after a good many cycles usually, a good many tapes have been played, the playhead, which moves up and down in relation to the tape to pick up the different tracks, eventually rattles itself out of alignment completely and has to be reset. So I've just done that. Good heavens, and there you are, in glorious solid state tinophones. Not the best sounding one in the world, that one. Haven't got many 8 tracks left now. This one's Tchaikovsky, Nutcracker, Sleeping Beauty music on it. Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, no less. And then over here, the world of your 100 best tunes. Always seem to see them at the boot sales a while ago. And the Stylistics. Oh my God, that's a long time ago, before Motown Detroit went down the toilet. This red one has some kind of a generic 70s orchestral music on it, and Lord knows what it is. It's got no label on it at all. And it might even be that this was one of those blank cartridges and that the label has simply fallen off. But all I know is, all the time I've had it, there's been no label. Not very helpful, I know. And then down in the house, a few with country and western, one with the Beatles, believe it or not, and another released by Apple Records, I think, with the famous scene of them crossing the road in London on the zebra crossing. But the first car I had actually had an 8-track in it. I was quite quick to put in a cassette radio because even then, in the early 80s, or was it the late 70s or what, I don't know, I'm showing my age now. It was a Wolseley 1300, so I really am showing my age now. Even then, 8-tracks were beginning to disappear. I had already disappeared in the States by all accounts, but I don't know. Perhaps you know better than me about that one over there. Ah dear, these D-light things, they continue to be a bit pernickety. This one had a dry joint in there. Wouldn't always charge up, and it turned out to be a dry joint where the battery pack plugs in. This one I've managed to get going by simply wiring a charging lead straight onto the battery, because there's a fault with this from 2011. What happens is that if it's allowed to go completely flat, the solar panel that comes with it, or even a mobile phone charger, won't recharge it. The electronics won't accept the charge, even though the battery pack's alright. But I'll give them their due. I got on to D-Light about this, because this thing is less than a year old, and let's face it, and it seemed a bit piss poor to me that my friends at the Wood have to go without a light because of some manufacturing defect. And the chap there, he confirmed quite surprisingly that it was a problem with some of them built in 2011, and he said, if you send me your address, I'll send you a replacement. And I'll give them their due, they did. And of course it's got a redesigned circuit board in it, so it won't do what this does if it runs flat and not accept the charge. But you see for yourself, tiny little socket there to take the charge in. But this one works pretty well now. It's actually has 4 light settings. I thought there were only 3, but there are 4. But I'll tell you what, you don't get customer service like that much, do you now? I suppose it was probably because of the very accurate description of the fault I gave him, that he thought, yeah, they've definitely got one, he's not trying to pull a fast one, we'll send him another. But yeah, so full marks for D-Light for that. Anyway, this thing's interesting, this American crapophone thing Susanna sent over a few weeks ago now. It's been plugged into the 12-volt supply here ever since in the shed. The innards actually run on 12 volts, and although the transformer in here will run on 110 or 120, I think it is, most smaller appliances over in the States evidently do. Bigger things like kettles, washing machines, tumble dryers, that sort of thing, they run on what they call a 220. It must be a bit of a farce, because it sounds as if they've got a sort of a three-phase system in every house. So, yeah, a bit more wiring to do when you wire them up. But old Blue Daz over in Canada, he said it might not keep time, this thing, because it's designed for a 60 cycle main rather than a 50, which we have over here in England, and in most of Europe, I think, as far as I know, and Australia. But because the innards run on DC at 12 volts, it doesn't matter. This thing is keeping perfect time. It's 3:08 by that one. That one up there is a bit slow and showing 3:05. So yeah, I think we've got that one lit. Probably the only thing they do different if they were making that for Europe is to put a 220 volt or 230 volt transformer in it instead of what's in it. Oh dear. Well, there's the bush, looking a bit more respectable, complete with newly covered front panel, and even the little bush sticker's gone back, the little plate. Waiting for it all to glue before I use it again. It's got a fantastic tone on it, but it was rather boomy before. The bass lover, he was on about possibly fitting a tweeter in it. I thought I might, because I did it with the Coomba cassette recorder for educational use that I have, and that had a whopping great big 10-inch speaker in it, and all the treble was just lost among the bass. Fitting a tweeter to that has certainly made it a heck of a lot nicer sound altogether, much clearer treble. So the same is true of this, it's worked a treat. Oh dear, anyway, so well, not much has been happening. Remember the little Seisho boombox thing? Tiny thing, really a Walkman with clip-on speakers. Well, a chap down under took a shine to that one, Langdon, 1984, and he likes his 80s gadgets alright, and wrote to me and asked about it, would it be possible to have it, and I wrote him back and said, well, I think the postage would be as much as I'd have to, charge for the thing. And the postage, well, it was, as a matter of fact, $17.50 to send it down to Melbourne, Australia, where he lives, and he says he can't wait to get it, and of course it's all in proper working order now, so wish you the best with that one. I'm sure you'll be played tapes. I tried recording from the radio on it, and it works really well. It's obviously AC bias recording, but as you'd expect from the mic that picks up just sort of atmospheric sound around it, there's a lot of motor whir, but from the radio, yes, very good indeed. And it looks like I might have a load of these pesky 8-track things coming my way to refoam for Vintage Sounds 14, who lives up north, and possibly try and copy them onto cassette. I don't know if I've got anything that would do it. I suspect that Akai thing might, but I'm not sure if it's working. Anyway, so with that, a tantalising glimpse of some ancient Sharp car speakers there. Remember when they used to live on the back shelf and weren't hidden away in the doors? So if anything went wrong, you didn't have to, in those days, go dismantling half the inside of your car. Marvellous stuff, isn't it? They call this progress. Anyway, see you soon.